came to Odyssey as a freshman, and it was actually my first backpacking trip that I had ever been on.
Coming from New Jersey, I had no experience in the outdoors whatsoever.
I was in the pre-freshman summer program for students that are from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds. For many of us, the outdoors was not something that we'd ever been exposed to.
I took Adirondack canoe camping my freshman fall. I didn't consider myself an outdoorsy person beforehand.
Where I lived as a freshman, Sperry Hall, one of the themes that kept coming up was this sort of love of the outdoors. Let's go to Minnesota and paddle for 3 weeks. Stuff that at that point for me was just not in my wheelhouse. It's like, why would people do that?
And then COVID hit. I took a semester off and I hiked the Appalachian Trail. Odyssey freshman me not really liking backpacking at all, and then CUE teaching me all the skills that I needed to then go and hike the Appalachian Trail.
COE introduced us to the outdoors.
The instructors were really supportive and taught me to do things that I didn't think I was ever going to do in my life.
One of the really important people that I encountered was a woman named Kate Foley. It was Kate who kind of turned me on to Wilderness Reflections. I signed up for a basic backpacking course. It felt really, really good.
Everyone who graduates from here tells me that community was overwhelmingly important. Having friends, having a community, having a place that they feel safe and can relax and escape the stresses of Cornell. Ubiquitous. Everyone says that.
Waking up on a backpacking trip to the Adirondacks as an instructor with a dozen people who maybe 2 days before had been complete strangers, and that morning felt like just waking up with a bunch of friends in a beautiful, albeit very cold setting, and getting to just share that and understand the power that an experience like that can have to bring people together.
When I first came to Cornell, I signed up for an Odyssey trip, and about a week beforehand, I was starting to regret it. I was thinking, oh, I only have 1 more week to hang out with my high school friends. Like, I'm gonna be in the woods with a bunch of strangers. Like, why did I even do this? But it ended up being like the best 6 days of my life. I met both Claire and Hannah, who are my best friends to this day.
In life, I really struggled to make friends and family and find connection with people. And I really felt like I was able to find that in COE, and Coe as I say it. And I'm just really glad to be a part of this community. I know I would have struggled a lot more in university than I have if it wasn't for Coe.
I met my husband while taking a kayaking class, and one of my closest friends who lives 2 miles down the road from me in a small town in Wyoming. She, my husband, and I taught early climbing classes together and have raised our families together here in Lander, Wyoming. It's nice that these connections persist over basically 3 decades.
My closest college friends came from the COE experience. It was my tribe. Those were my people.
Growing up, sort of engaged in academic pursuits, it was not uncommon to be the only person of color, and that was always the case with the outdoor stuff, but it was cool. People were cool. Again, there was a lot of acceptance and a lot of encouragement, and that just really meant the world to me.
One of the real joys for me is what's happening this weekend. Today we are at Acadia National Park, 20 or so instructors from the early days who have stayed in touch over the decades have once again gathered. We do so every 5 years or so. We even have some of the children of some of those early instructors who are here with us. So we've become a multi-generational community, and that all began in the woods and the gorges and the beautiful natural areas around Cornell that we explored together. And today, here we are 40 some odd years later, exploring the wild country again.
COE longtime motto has been teamwork, leadership, and growth through outdoor education. And when I hear back from people who have graduated, that's what I hear about.
A sense of self-confidence coming out from not knowing a skill set
and slowly growing into it to the level that they can lead and teach others.
The one thing that you can do is empower people to be leaders, and I really love that about COE. Watching my students take their share of the class to lead and see what they can do and what they maybe never thought they could do.
Now it's just amazing to see that I have students who are now COE instructors, having them see the same thing in themselves, realize, that they can do things that they never thought that they could do.
COE gave me the opportunity to be a leader while I was still a child. I think that trust that we put into student leaders and instructors makes a huge world of difference.
I would say that with every trip that we run, our trip leaders are there to empower you. Our leaders are here to build high-performing teams, to create an environment where every single person in that team matters and where we want you to succeed.
As a COE instructor, being 19 years old, 20 years old, and in charge of leading a group, dealing with, emergencies, everything was very impactful. To this day, I feel like I can do anything.
Another thing I hear from recent graduates is they've joined some workplace and they find that their teams function really poorly in comparison to what they experienced here. And they'll come back and say, I had no idea that all workplaces weren't like this one, but I had the skills to help my team function.
Teaching the physical education courses with COE, we had a lot of flexibility to also accommodate different kinds of learners, meeting learners where they were at. It opened my eyes to the value of group dynamics in organizational settings. And that's something that I've carried with me throughout my career. The reality is that most of our workplaces are small team environments. And when we're able to pay attention to those, we end up having more successful organizations and happier careers.
For me, COE was a career pivot point, right? I had been working in archaeology and geology when I ended up stepping into the associate director role. So for me, after almost 4 years of being in that role, it helped me identify competence and passion and set me off onto almost a 30-year career in wilderness medicine and wilderness risk management.
I'm a graduate of the School of Hotel Administration. I think if I had not had the opportunity to learn these things and to meet these people through WRCOE, I dare say the arc of my career would probably have looked really different and probably in some ways pretty bleak.
I remember I was on my first college tour at Cornell and I was hating it. And then we walked past this thing that said Linseth Climbing Center. So we ditched the tour completely and just go right in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I talked to these amazing people who I still just look up so highly to. And I just remember it being that moment where I was like, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna be happy.
I look at one defining moment of my college career, I can simply just point and say it was my Outdoor Odyssey trip freshman year.
Of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I invested to go to Cornell, the most valuable takeaways were from COE.
It takes a lot of work to make this place go. All the people who work here full-time are at it, but I know what we're doing is good because of the number of people who contact me after they graduate and say, thank you, Mark, for Cornell Outdoor Education. This meant so much to me. It was the best experience I had at Cornell.
Cornell Outdoor Education has grown immensely in the past 50 years, from a back-of-the-truck program all the way to being the largest program in the nation. And along the way, we've had impactful experiences for thousands of Cornell students. Looking for the future for our next 50 years, we want to ensure that we can provide equal access to the Cornell Outdoor Education experience to any students, regardless of their financial status.
I just hope that COE has the chance to continue to impact so many other people.
It's such a great program, and I'm really happy that students will have an opportunity to be involved for hopefully the rest of time.